Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for all the words of encouragement as I fail forward, as the corporate girlies like to say. And I learned this time to use headphones when I'm recording. I'm back today with another video I think we're all going to like because you guys seem to really resonate with it before. This topic seems to ruffle a lot of feathers, and I think we can go through some of the videos that I was seeing and do a little bit more reacts and have just like a little deeper conversation back and forth about why this discourse continues, what we can do about it, and what is our like call to action and our role in all of this to play, right? I think some generations have lost the plot is really the TLDR of this. It's strange because when you put yourself a part of and like label yourself a part of a subculture, it's different than just wearing an aesthetic or wearing a costume, right? And that's really what the conversation boils down to. Being a goth and conservative is when you're co-opting these kinds of looks and aesthetics and not having the heart behind the ideology, it crumbles. And you're allowed to look and dress the way that you want. I don't think anybody is objecting to that. I don't think anybody's arguing that. It's trying to label yourself as something that you're not, because there is a discrepancy between what you believe and how you present. By the way, anybody I include in my videos, I don't condone any kind of like bullying or harassment or like witch hunting on anybody. I think that these are all examples. It's not pointing out a person necessarily. It's pointing out the issue around them that they are involved in. So I want to make that really clear. I'm not out here to cancel anybody or incite violence. All of this is my own opinion. Before we get into it, make sure you hit the bell so that you're reminded of future videos as they're coming out. Like I said, I'm going to try to do one a week or one every few weeks for now. So let's get into it. I'm excited. We have a few videos today, and I think we're going to end on a creator that really just kind of confuses and confounds me a little bit, because I think it's just boiled down to rage bait at this point. I really think people just like inciting reactions from people on the internet. Okay, so this first video is by a creator, and I think it's a really good way to open this conversation. So we're gonna watch this now.
I don't care if I'm going to piss off some people in the alternative scene. As a matter of fact, if it does offend you, good. Fuck you. If you're a punk or goth content creator with a huge following and you haven't said a single peep about the political fuckery that's happening in this country, you are extremely sus and you need to be checked. No amount of get ready with me content featuring dolls kill products is going to distract me from the fact that you're either a hardcore Trump supporter or you're just a straight up poser. And I don't like using that word very often, but that's essentially what I'm calling you. I can't even drop names because quite frankly, you all look like fucking clones and I can't tell you apart. And before some MAGA Neanderthal in a Misfits shirt decides to hop in my comments and tell me that punk is anti-establishment, what do you think Trump is right now? That dude's in the White House.
So that's what we're really bringing to light here is there is a lot of cognitive dissonance going on. And for my viewers who don't know what cognitive dissonance is, let's look up the definition, shall we? Cognitive dissonance is a mental discomfort that results from holding two conflicting beliefs, values, or attitudes. So in this example, when we're talking about goth as a subculture and how it does have roots to punk and how punk in and of itself, like he said, is anti-establishment, you can't have something come from something else and completely decry its roots. You can, but again, it's not that anymore. And what I mean by that is when you dress and look a certain way and then your beliefs completely conflict what that movement is standing for, there is cognitive dissonance there because it causes unease, it causes discomfort. This happens a lot with people who have long-standing beliefs. Let me use diet as an example. We've had a lot of misinformation, particularly in millennials and older, about like the food pyramid, which we've learned is a whole scam in and of itself, and all types of corruption. I could even do something about that if you guys are interested. But my point is, we were told like, oh, you're supposed to eat, a ton of grains, like because it was the bottom of the food pyramid. That's what you were supposed to, consume. You were supposed to consume this many servings growing up. But now we found out that it's not that direct. It's not that simple. You can't make a blanket statement of I'm going to only eat bread because that's what the pyramid has told me to do. there's discomfort when you're told otherwise, right? There's discomfort when you are faced with the fact that no, you need a well-rounded diet in order to have a healthy lifestyle for most people who don't need, medical intervention or need a dietitian in order to help with their diets. The ketogenic diet was primarily started for people who had epilepsy, and they needed diets and medical supervision in order to help control some of their issues and some of their seizures. Just one example of how it's been, oh, sorry, you moved. That's one example of how it's been taken out of context and turned into something else. You can't go on this ketogenic diet under the medical basis that it's going to do great things for you as a blanket statement. When you're told otherwise, and when you are stuck in that worldview and you're told otherwise, no, that's not true, and here's why, you're going to experience discomfort. You're going to experience things that are going to be challenging to that. And that is what I'm talking about. When you try to confront somebody who, there's a pattern of behavior here that I'm noticing in older, like Gen X and above, who claim that, we started this movement, now we have to go on our heads and now we're defending this stance and, it's weird that that's happening. Have you stopped to wonder why that might be? Have you stopped to think about you've gone away from the beliefs that you once had, and why is that, right? It's frustrating, right? I agree. And that's why I make these videos. It is not negotiable to use goth and punk as your platform and try to claim that you are that, and then turn around and wear it as a costume and try to be for the establishment. I think I used Star Wars, if I didn't cut it in the last video, but I used Star Wars as a perfect example. The Empire is the establishment, right? The Empire is order. They are the status quo. They are, you get in line, you be a stormtrooper, and you follow orders. Those are, MAGA supporters. It's a perfect example of that. They are following in with what the government is telling them to do. The contrary to that is the Rebel Alliance. The Rebel Alliance would be the, closest thing to, anti-establishment. It would be goth, it would be punk, it would be people who don't believe the current system is working. That at its core is what started these music movements. That's what created this discourse, right? That's why people were so passionate. People don't just typically back in the day, and please keep in mind, I'm using generalizations because it's just easier to have these like high level conversations, but people back in the day didn't wear mohawks because they enjoyed blending in. Like, even if you take out all of the political discourse and the minutia of this, right? People don't stand out because they want to fit in and they want to follow orders. Why do you think the military wears uniforms? Why do you think everybody looks the same? Why do you think there were in the Republican makeup trends? Like, why is there a pattern of women who typically look all the same? Because assimilation is power. Assimilation is control. And I don't understand this dissonance, which is why I think I need to talk out loud with you guys to try to figure this out. Like, I am very curious and enjoy hearing different perspectives in the comments because of course I'm willing to say if I'm wrong, but I know at my core I'm not wrong because these movements stood for something. If you've listened to any of the music, like, yes, some people, I believe the guy from the Sex Pistols, went to the right and people change and things get sold out and things get co-opted, of course, all the time. But the core ethos of it is the same. So let's get into more. I think, like he said, I think his view is really interesting, discussing these things. Like, gatekeeping is a word that people are using and getting very butthurt about, that goths are just giant gatekeepers and they're edgelords and they don't want anybody else in their community. And people get stuck on the look of it, right? You don't look the part. You don't look that way. You don't wear black lipstick and, oh, you're goth if you wear black lipstick. I hate black lipstick. Personally, like, my lips are small. I don't look great with black lipstick. Do I wear it occasionally or like blend it with another color, like a red and black lip? Sure. But you don't have to look a part to embody an ideology or take part in a subculture. It's more just those things come as a result of the art, the music, the movies, which one of my most popular TikToks, it's gotten over 100,000 views, was speaking about Bela Lugosi and who he was as a person, which again, goth took on this enjoyment and this, sense of melancholy and excitement over the macabre, over this sorrow, over being able to celebrate the darker aspects of life. And Bela Lugosi was a labor unionizer, he was an immigrant. How can you decry those things today and decry those, marginalized people, and then turn around and be like, yeah, I loved the original Dracula. Do you see what I'm saying here? Do you see where their hypocrisy lies? It denotes a lack of understanding of the roots of something. And that's why history is so important. If we lose the plot and we don't understand how history repeats, we won't understand, where did trad goth come from? We could lose that plot at some point, and then it would just become a simulacra of itself. And to me, that's what these people are. Sorry, a simulacrum. A simulacrum is an image or representation of something, an unsatisfactory imitation or substitute. So I feel like these people who are goth conservatives and label themselves as such, they're a simulacrum of what goth is really about and what it stands behind. You wouldn't have all of these breakthrough media pieces. You wouldn't have the original Dracula. You wouldn't have Frankenstein. You wouldn't have openly gay directors directing Frankenstein if you didn't have this support for these marginalized groups. Sex workers is another great example. I've heard a lot around the alt Bauhaus, and people were saying, oh, they don't support sex workers. In what universe? A lot of goth attire and, again, the beliefs and the ideologies of that subculture branched off into the style. That's why a lot of goth outfits that you see in clubs were latex, were PVC and things, because it took a lot of inspiration from sex workers, and it was one of the few places where sex workers would be accepted and felt safe. So I say all of this to say we've lost the plot, and people bragging about this, like, it's not the flex that they think it is, and I think a lot of this has just devolved into like rage bait. So let's watch another one.
Goth talk is slowly becoming the worst place on earth, so this is my interpretation of goth talk. Everyone go unfollow Bat Lover 666. She stole my makeup look. And a day after I got V-Bangs, she got V-Bangs. And I'm literally the creator of V-Bangs. If you guys didn't know, I'm goth and conservative. I'm actually a goth Zionist. And all you posers out there who say that you can't be goth and conservative are liars. And everybody in the goth community is just a plastic supermodel Britney Spears wannabe. So actually, you guys know nothing about being goth. I'm a real goth who lived in the 80s, and that makeup is nothing like real 80s goth makeup. This new generation of goths are just a bunch of poser liberal wannabes. Guys, I don't know why everyone is canceling me because I ate a deer on camera, a live deer that I found in my backyard. You guys aren't goth. Like, welcome to the scene. Like, we eat deers. It's what we fucking do. You guys are just this scene is so toxic, nobody understands. If you guys didn't know, I literally created wearing new rocks, and Batfart666 stole my look. Cause why do I go on her page and she's wearing new rocks? You guys need to unfollow her. Now. Who likes my new DIY bracelet that I made? Oh my fucking god, how dare you try DIY? You are so ugly, you're a disgrace to the goth community. Get that plastic off your wrist. I would rather buy off of Shein than wear that monstrosity.
I actually love gore. I like to post videos of me abusing animals.
Do I support Batfart? Of course, he's literally a pedophile. And I saw a goth listening to Lady Gaga. You guys need to cancel her, cause only real goths can only listen to Susie and the Banshees and nothing else. Disclaimer, this is just a video for jokes, but it's low-key what goth talk is turning into. Sorry, not sorry. Not all goths are like this.
It's wild out there, and that's the example of, I don't know every single reference that she made in that video, but it really is about like all the wrong things. Like, oh, we look the same. Oh, this and this and that. And there's so many derivative topics we can like splinter off into, particularly about the fashion and how, yes, being derivative and like copying someone else sucks, but also like you do have parameters and just certain things if you're trying to follow like a visual aesthetic for goth. Yes, you're all going to look similar because if you're trad goth, there's only so many ways that you can wear your hair or do your makeup, and there's a lack of like understanding too that like things evolve and change. Like we're also allowed to like evolve styles and reimagine them and like reinterpret them as time goes on too. So it's exhausting. It's more like combative than it needs to be. Let's go to the next one.
Can't be goth and conservative. I'm so tired of hearing, oh, you can't be goth, you can't be Republican.
Because you literally can't. I guarantee you that if you go to any goth club or any scene in your area, any of the goths that you meet are not going to agree with your views. And that's because not only is goth a music-based subculture, it is also a derivative from punk, which if you know anything about punk values, they do not align with conservative Republican values. You're welcome to call yourself goth all you want, but your values don't align with the subculture, and that's just point blank period.
Follow Santana. I think her content's great. I also agree with this take. I tried to find the original video and it was taken down. Wow, shocker. Her video was taken down. It seems like recently I took a quick look through her page, the one that Santana switched, and I don't think she's really posting much incendiary stuff. Like I didn't go through all of them. It's just, if you don't want fire, then don't light the match. No one's telling you can't do these things. No one's like coming up and showing up at your door and forcing you to get out of, the clothes that you're wearing. We're just pointing out that the shoe doesn't fit, clearly. The pair of new rocks doesn't fit, right? Why are you supporting brands and typically these companies that are alternative, that are anti-establishment? Well, most of them should be. Again, that's another topic we could splinter off into. But it's like, sure, go ahead and call yourself that, but don't get mad when people call you out on the hypocrisy of it and when you actually trail everything back to what goth is. Like she was saying, if you go to any goth club or you go into the actual scene, that's not what's happening. And it's the dissonance between what's happening online versus what reality is that is honestly a little bit disconcerting as someone who remembers the old internet. I remember you could have fun forums and talk about things, and now it's this degradation of what we should be discussing. At the end of the day, all of this is class warfare, right? Like we're divided when we shouldn't be, when really no billionaire gives two shits about you, even if you are pro-Trump and have been conservative your whole life. That's really what the crux of all of this boils down to. But at its core, again, go ahead, call yourself goth, but the people who embrace this community, love this community, support this community, don't align with your shit, and don't be mad again, like, if people try to call you out.
Y'all miss me with that bullshit saying can't be goth and conservative. I'm so tired of hearing, oh, you can't.
This video makes me laugh out loud. This whole account makes me chuckle. Let me tell you.
People who say you can't be goth or punk and conservative, have you ever stepped outside? Who's gonna tell me I can't be goth and conservative?
Girl, I don't think it's us who hasn't stepped outside. I think it's you. Because let me tell you, when you go to a punk show with your little Trump 2020 shirt on, they're all gonna beat your ass. When you go to the goth club talking about all your fascist ideologies, they're gonna kick you out of the club. Just saying. Like, why are you even in this subculture that's based off of leftist ideologies if you're not a part of that? Like, if you don't have those ideologies, that makes no sense. This subculture is not just based off of music, and I'm tired of people saying that. It's about the music and the political ideologies. You can't have one without the other. Like, I don't know what to tell you. That's what being goth is. Being goth is based off of being punk. And if you're a punk and you support the Republican Party and you support Trump, then you are not a punk. Because all punk music, anyway, talks about the leftist ideologies, the political ideologies that go with it. Why are you in a subculture that doesn't align with your personal values? Like, I just don't get it. Being goth is not just a silly, spooky aesthetic. It's actually going against the system, which you so proudly defend in all your other videos. Ooh. But whatever, I'm not going to get too pressed because your account is obviously rage bait. So keep making your videos for likes and views so you can get more money. Yes, queen.
And that's where I'm at with this. I think this topic overall, while it is helpful to dissect and discuss these things, it really is rage bait. A lot of these creators, they want your anger, they want you to comment, they want to feel it well up inside you because you'll want to add to the discourse. You'll want to, again, get their engagement views up. People have been doing it all over. I mean, there's sad fishing, there's rage baiting, there's all of these reactions that they're trying to get out of you. When at the end of the day, like, no one's showing up at your door and forcing you to get out of the clothes that you're wearing. Like, no one's going to make you do that. It just is really strange that you live with these two completely conflicting belief systems, like your appearance and the things that you support, allegedly, versus like the things you say don't make sense. Like, words have meaning and we are completely like bastardizing that in a lot of ways. Why would you go into, a punk show if you don't, think that Hitler needs to get like sucker punched, truly? Like, and I know there's skinheads and there's always going to be opposition to any kind of movement that tries to, create meaningful change and make important dialogue and meaningful dialogue about, marginalized people and leftist ideologies. But why that fight? Like, why are you choosing that? Like, why is that the hill that you're dying on? Why do people make entire accounts just based on this? It's very bizarre behavior. Why are you wasting your energy on that when you could just be doing like thirst traps in general? And I can't help but come to the conclusion the same thing as her is like, you're doing this for money. Like, you must be, trying to. And there's no problem with getting clout on the internet. Like, why else would we post on the internet? Like, we want to be seen. We want to, create followings and like build community. Like, of course, that's why we're all here. But why is that the thing that you chose? It's very odd. These things have poignance and these things have gotten co-opted, and everybody has a right to comment on that. It's not adding up. The math isn't mathing. It's just really not. Making your entire 100% platform just dedicated to trying to vent and like have a certain aesthetic and look and not believe in anything that it represents. And again, it's like, you're wearing a costume at this point. And if that's the costume you want to wear, sure. We're going to end this with one of the creators that really was confusing to me. And she's made quite a lot of pieces, and her whole account is around this. So let's watch this head scratcher. Video has copyrighted music and I feel like it went really fast, so I'm going to read it for you because I actually had to do that too when I first saw this. The comment says, "How are you conservative and goth?" That doesn't make sense. It says, "The subculture never started out as political. In its simplest, original, and most true form, Gothic is a subculture characterized by a dark aesthetic. A love for the macabre, mostly including wearing black and dark clothing, dark makeup, black hair, and typically listening to music about darkness, death, and gloom. It's self-expression through a dark style and has nothing to do with political beliefs." So yes, goth conservative always has been and always will be a thing. Hope this helps. And I think in some other videos, she mentions, I'm Gen X, like I was born in the early 80s, and it's like, we helped create this subculture. Yeah, you did. And I'm honest, I'm a little confused. Again, all these videos kind of have the same look. It's just the same videos, like interposing, like videos of Trump and like, oh, I voted for him. And there's a lot of people who are just like kind of sending hearts. And it makes me think they're kind of bots as well, or just like older people who like don't really know how to use TikTok except to just watch videos. A lot of American flag emojis, which always to me is kind of a red flag. Like the American flag now kind of has drawn past patriotism and gone into just straight up like creepy white nationalism, in my opinion, hyper nationalism, to the point where like we're obviously in fascism. So here's another one of hers. If I remember correctly, this video was, I think, like addressing in her caption to the 13 to 23-year-old goths who were trying to tell her like she can't wear something or like is trying to be a gatekeeper. And the video, obviously I have to like mute it so it doesn't get copyright struck, is that song You Don't Own Me, and she's kind of mouthing into it kind of strangely. Again, like, this is the hill you want to die on. Sure, I guess. I mean, I just don't think I'm ever going to understand it. And I think it's embarrassing and a little ridiculous in my opinion. And I know I tried to stay, very logical and try to understand these different viewpoints, but she's wrong, objectively. Like, these pieces, yes, goth isn't as, in the forefront, isn't as political as punk. That's why they're slightly different and one's derivative of the other. But you can't say that it doesn't have political roots because of where it came from. And a lot of the art and media that has been created around it is rooted in leftist beliefs. Like I said, I mean, Dracula's a perfect example. I mean, the movie, the original movie from the 1920s, like the original Universal picture, you can't make this up. I mean, I think there's one more. First off, the first knock against you is that your audio is Marilyn Manson. I don't even know if I need to say anything else to that. Yeah, I guess you don't need to say anything more if you are touting yourself as a conservative goth with Marilyn Manson audio. Not only is that charged in and of itself in the history of, goth and Marilyn Manson's role in that, but he is an abuser, an essayer, and just an incredibly disgusting person all around. And there's no need to use his music. People in the comments also were like, yeah, great song. And it's birds of a feather, right? And I think we're all guilty of that. It's easier to be immersed in a worldview that is comfortable to you. I think it's important, and these videos really do help to prompt me to look on the other side to figure out, am I missing something? Is something just not adding up on my end? Like, everybody in and of themselves, like, everybody is myopic. Everybody has, their own limited perspective and funnel and schema of the world to go by to understand things. But man, I can say this with my whole chest that this is just objectively wrong in so many ways. Why would you, wear t-shirts with meat on it if you're a vegan? That is the dissonance level to me that is the same here. Why would you, tout cheeseburgers and love cheeseburgers when you're a vegan? I mean, I guess it would be better to do it the other way around, right? Like, tout that you're vegan, but then go and show up at a restaurant and eat burgers, The principles don't align. And I'm tired of people trying to like co-opt this and pretend that it's not, because there are so many things wrong with a lot of, these overconsumption trends and these micro trends. And a lot of it is because it's gotten muddy and we don't understand like the root cause of things and the historical context, because context matters. I always tout myself as the context queen because I almost give too much context. But it's because I really believe and am passionate that it's important to know, or else you'll make assumptions like this, or you'll be conservative and show up at a punk show in MAGA gear and not understand why no one wants to mess with you there. And you don't have to wear the clothing or have the like typical fashion of a goth to be goth. Like, in my day-to-day, like, I'm not wearing a full face of white makeup and black lipstick, and I don't make it to the club every week. I don't even make it there every month. But that doesn't mean that I identify as it any less, or it makes me any less than. That's where, on the contrary, gatekeeping is important because it creates a safe space for minorities and it creates a safe space for people who don't have anywhere else to go. You know, a lot of it just doesn't add up. And I hope that you can understand that. I hope that we can have interesting discourse in the comments. I'm not going to be, you know, entertaining ad hominem if you're just going to, you know, call me a dumb bitch. Like, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested more in, you know, what viewpoints you have. Like, why do you disagree with this? Why has, you know, in her bio, she says that she's like a country goth girl. And there's nothing wrong with that either. There's plenty of southern swamp goths and people in different areas. Why has, you know, even country at its roots was anti-establishment? I mean, I just refuse to think that that's what goths, you know, destiny as a movement is to be. And it's not only just people who identify as being conservative, it's also fast fashion brands that, you know, are alternative. We've lost the elements of what have made it what it was and what I think a lot of people love about it. That doesn't mean that we can't transform and change with the times, but, and like I said, fast fashion has a lot, there's a whole video I could do on this about, you know, better brands to shop for and why it's a very multifaceted issue, because, you know, for a lot of plus size people, there aren't a lot of things in thrift stores and there aren't a lot of accessible alternative clothing brands in particular. I think they're starting to get better, but there's still a long way to go in terms of making these clothing brands accessible to all sizes and all bodies. That said, there's a lot to this conversation, and there's a reason that words exist, and there's consequences for, you know, bastardizing these terms and twisting things and taking them out of context. I don't like people altering or twisting the meaning of things. As a literature major myself, I think it's just very important that we put a lens to ourselves and the biases we have and examine these types of concepts because these types of things kind of what snowball and like twist things to become a simulacrum of itself. It just becomes something that is so nondescript. It doesn't mean anything anymore, you know? I'm curious what you all think about this as well. Again, there were some very split and interesting comments. I think people get heated about this, admittedly even myself, where I just get confused and irritated that why is gatekeeping seen as a bad thing when it's letting out the bad? You know, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And I think that's important as to why communities exist and why people have to support each other. So that's my 2 cents to you guys this week. Again, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm always curious about all the different viewpoints. What did you think? Do you want me to do any deep dives on some of these creators? Do you want me to speak about certain pieces of media that have built the goth subculture into, you know, what it represents and what it is? So again, let me know what you think, and I always appreciate you guys watching. Again, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're notified of future videos and things that I release, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!